The maitre d' recognized me the moment we stepped into Le Mars, still the most exclusive French restaurant in the city. His eyes flickered with recognition, but his demeanor remained flawlessly professional. "Good evening," my sister Diana said, her voice cool and commanding. "Reservation for Walker, party of 4. I lingered a step behind, watching my family perform their usual ritual, flashing designer labels, adjusting expensive watches, soaking in the attention as if it were their birthright. They hadn't wanted me here tonight, but appearances mattered. Couldn't have people wondering why the eldest Walker daughter missed her father's birthday dinner. "Right this way," the maitre d' said smoothly, leading us across the candlelit dining room. I noticed the discreet glances from the staff, the almost imperceptible nods of acknowledgement they tried to suppress. Diana glanced at my simple black dress and curled her lip. "I'm shocked you didn't come in one of your thrift store finds, Sarah. Some of us prioritize different things," I said lightly. "Like scraping together rent on that shoebox apartment?" She shot back with a smirk. Before I could answer, Mom gave us both a sharp look as we slid into our seats. "Girls, it's your father's birthday." Dad was already scowling at the wine list. "These prices are outrageous." I almost laughed. He had no idea how much the actual markup was. "Sarah probably needs to triple-check the prices," Diana whispered to Mom. "Wouldn't want her ordering something she can't afford." Just then, our waiter arrived, Jean-Luc, one of my most trusted employees. I saw my family register him as nothing more than a server, invisible and beneath notice. Diana didn't stop. "Maybe just an appetizer for you, Sarah. We'd hate to split the bill 4 ways." That's when Jean-Luc addressed me directly. "Welcome back, Miss Walker. Your usual table was taken, but I hope this one meets your standards." Dad sputtered on his water. Mom dropped her menu. Diana froze mid-smirk. "It's perfect, thank you, Jean-Luc," I replied, with a calm smile. "Shall I bring your usual vintage?" he asked smoothly, already anticipating the answer. "Yes, please, the 1982 Bordeaux." Dad's complexion turned ghostly. That bottle cost more than his monthly country club fees. Mom stared. "Sarah, what is this?" I took a measured sip of water, savoring the moment. "Oh, I thought I mentioned, I bought Le Mars about 6 months ago, along with the rest of the restaurant group." Diana blinked like she'd been slapped. "But, you live in that tiny apartment, you wear normal clothes." "Because that's my choice," I said simply. "I've never needed to broadcast my worth to prove it exists." Jean-Luc returned with the wine, presenting it with quiet reverence. "An excellent selection as always, Miss Walker. Shall I let Chef Michel know you'd like your usual soufflé for dessert?" "Please do, and bring the full tasting menu for the table, it is a special night." He nodded and disappeared. Silence fell like a velvet curtain. My phone buzzed, probably the update on our London expansion, but I let it go. Right now, I was content to watch my family sit in stunned silence, realizing they'd spent the evening mocking the owner of the restaurant they were so proud to be seen in. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge isn't telling people who you've become. It's letting them humiliate themselves before they figure it out. Dad took a long gulp of his water, probably wishing it were something stronger. Diana was hunched over her phone, frantically Googling beneath the table, no doubt trying to verify what her pride refused to believe. I simply leaned back, opened the menu, though I knew it by heart, and smiled. Dinner was about to get very interesting. The tasting menu began to arrive, each course more exquisite than the last. Chef Michel was clearly pulling out all the stops tonight, knowing I was in the dining room. My family picked at their food in tense silence, their world slowly unraveling with every bite. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "So," he said, his voice stiff, "how exactly did all this happen?" I took a slow sip of Bordeaux. "Remember that waste of money MBA you refused to pay for? The one you dismissed because it focused on restaurant operations instead of finance?" He shifted in his chair. Diana suddenly found her foie gras fascinating. "Well," I continued, "turns out there's a global demand for revolutionizing luxury dining. My company now owns 32 restaurants across 3 continents." Mom's fork slipped from her hand. 32? She repeated faintly. I nodded. "Le Cirque in New York, Le Moine in Paris, that charming little spot in London where you celebrated your anniversary last year." I let it hang. "The one you claimed had impossible reservations." Diana's cheeks flushed. "So that's why they seated us immediately when I dropped the Walker name." "Exactly," I said, "though you really shouldn't treat the staff so poorly, they tell me everything." Jean-Luc returned with the next course, a delicate scallop dish, not listed on any menu. Chef Michel's latest creation, he announced. He'd appreciate your feedback before adding it to the permanent offerings. Dad stared, trying to recalculate everything he thought he knew. The same man who once told me I was wasting my life not joining his investment firm. The London location opens next month, I added, savoring the scallop. We're already booked solid for 3 months. London? Mom echoed. But, you said you couldn't afford to come with us last summer. I was there, I said simply, overseeing construction. I stayed in my penthouse instead of the family hotel. Diana's phone buzzed, likely a friend tipping her off that her modest sister owned the very empire she'd spent years mocking. She looked up. Is that why you never upgraded your apartment, or wore designer? I prefer investing in things that matter, I said, like paying my staff a living wage, providing healthcare, education stipends, creating real value instead of just flashing wealth. The sommelier approached with another bottle. Miss Walker, he said, the investment group is back. They've increased their offer for the chain. Tell them what we always say, Philippe. Not for sale at any price, he said with a small bow. Dad nearly dropped his glass. Investment group? Morgan Stanley, I replied. They offered 12 times earnings last week. The irony wasn't lost on me, Dad. The career banker who once laughed at my business plan, now blinking at the valuation like it was a bad trade. Mom leaned forward. Why didn't you tell us, sweetheart? We thought you were struggling. Because success isn't about proving anything to anyone, I said. It's about building something real. I gestured around the room. No family money, no favors, no shortcuts. Everything here, I built from the ground up. Diana's expression shifted, from shock to strategy. So, about reservations. You'll still need to book in advance, I said, cutting her off with a smile. Your name doesn't open doors anymore. In fact, I added sweetly, you might find some of those doors mysteriously closed. Just then, the dessert cart arrived, Chef Michel's signature soufflé, paired with a vintage port that cost more than Diana's handbag. I raised my glass. Happy birthday, Dad. Dinner's on me tonight, just like it has been every time you've unknowingly dined at one of my restaurants this past year. Sometimes the best revenge isn't owning the table, it's letting them realize they've been dining on your dime the entire time. The port was flawless. Almost as satisfying as watching my family choke down their pride with dessert. As the coffee arrived, the energy at the table had shifted entirely. Gone was Diana's smug superiority, replaced by strained compliments and transparent attempts at flattery. Mom couldn't stop name-dropping acquaintances who'd love to invest in my next project. Dad sat mostly in silence, likely reviewing every time he'd praised Diana's junior analyst role while dismissing my little restaurant hobby. Ms. Walker. Jean-Luc returned, his tone as professional as ever. Chef Michel requests your input in the kitchen when convenient. The London menu is awaiting final approval. Diana perked up. Oh, can I come? I'd love to see. The kitchen is for staff and ownership only, I said gently. Health code regulations. I'm sure you understand. Mom shifted tactics. Darling, we should throw you a party. To think, our daughter, such a successful restaurant owner, I finished for her. Strange. That didn't seem worth celebrating when you thought I was managing just one. The sommelier returned with a folder. The wine list for London. Ms. Walker. Also, Mr. Thompson called about Tokyo. Dad's head jerked up. Tokyo opens in the spring, I said, though Diana may already know that. She tried to get a table in Paris last month using the family name. Diana flushed. I didn't realize that my staff would tell me, that every name drop, every complaint, every rude comment made its way back to me. I stood, smoothing my cheap dress, hand-stitched by a boutique atelier in Paris. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to consult with my chef. But it's your father's birthday, Mom protested weakly. And I've paid for the meal, I said evenly, just like I've paid for every one you've had in my restaurants. I nodded to Jean-Luc. Make sure they have everything they need, and please add the usual gratuity to their bill. Their bill? Diana squeaked. Of course, I said with a smile. Owning the place doesn't make it free. That wouldn't be smart business, right, Dad? In the kitchen, Chef Michel greeted me warmly, already laying out the draft of the London menu. We reviewed seasonal pairings and design details. Through the glass, I could still see my family at the table, huddled together, subdued and shaken. My phone buzzed. Diana, I'm sorry, for everything, for how we treated you. Mom, we were wrong, so wrong. Dad, I never saw it, your vision, your potential, can we talk? I typed a single message to all three. Reservations required, 3-month wait, no exceptions. I turned back to Chef Michel's latest creation, to the empire I'd built in silence while they looked the other way. Later that night, I returned to my tiny apartment, actually the penthouse floor of the building, open, minimalist, exactly how I liked it. I paused by the framed review from years ago. Unknown buyer revives Le Mars, a struggling restaurant reborn into a culinary empire. Unknown. Underestimated. Unstoppable. I picked up my phone and sent one final message. Next time you judge someone's worth, remember, they might just own the ground you're standing on. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up the Tokyo expansion plans, and got back to work. Because success isn't about revenge. It's about never needing validation. And sometimes, the richest taste isn't from the finest souffle or the rarest wine, it's from the moment they realize they've been feasting on your success all along.